Monday morning, Casey walks into the weekly meeting and sees one empty chair. The person who sat there last week is gone. No announcement, no dramatic email. But he knows one part of his own job is already vulnerable. Every Thursday, he spends 3 hours building a report that an employer-approved AI tool can draft in about 40 minutes. So Casey builds a 3-layer backup plan. Own a more valuable outcome. Get one customer outside his job. Know exactly how long he can live without the paycheck. Layer 1. Own the outcome. Casey gives the AI tool the structure of the report, using only information he is allowed to use. No customer data, no confidential files, no private company material. 40 minutes later, the draft is done. But 2 numbers are wrong, and 1 conclusion does not match the data. If Casey copied and sent it, he would be faster and less trustworthy. So he checks the source files, fixes the errors, and uses the time he saved to answer a better question. What should management do next? That is the part AI did not finish. The tool handled part of the old task. Casey handled judgment, quality control, and the decision that came after it. He saved about 2 hours and 20 minutes. Over 4 weeks, that is more than 9 hours. But saving time by itself is not enough. If Casey quietly finishes the same report faster, the company may only notice that the report now takes less labor. So he makes the improvement visible. He shows his manager the old process, the new process, the errors the tool produced, and the quality check he added. Then he asks to own the workflow, not just the report. That distinction matters. If Casey only becomes faster at producing the same file, he may help make his old task cheaper. If he becomes responsible for accuracy, handoffs, and the decision that follows, he moves closer to the part of the work the company still needs someone to own. He uses some of the saved time to fix a broken handoff between 2 teams. The report arrives earlier. Fewer numbers need to be corrected, and the people reading it know what action to take. Now Casey can describe a result, not a tool. I cut a recurring report from 3 hours to 40 minutes, caught the errors the tool missed, and improved the workflow around it. That still does not guarantee his job. Nothing does. But Casey is no longer only the person who completes the task. He is the person responsible for making the whole process faster, more accurate, and more useful. Before he moves on, he writes that result down. Time saved, errors reduced, delay removed. That proof can later go on his resume, LinkedIn, or a clean portfolio sample. Those are not separate projects. They are just places to store the same evidence. Layer 2, get one customer. Casey takes the same skill he just proved at work, workflow improvement, and asks a harder question. Will anyone outside his employer pay for it? Before making an offer, he checks a few job postings and talks to 2 people in related roles. That tells him whether the same skill could help him find another job if he needed one. He is not trying to predict the whole labor market. In Casey's small sample, the repeated signal is clear. Businesses still need people who can clean up messy processes, check AI output, and explain what the numbers mean. But demand in job postings is not proof that a customer will pay Casey directly. So he runs a second test and packages one small offer. I will turn your messy monthly report into a repeatable process that takes less time and is easier to review. Then he sends 8 messages. 6 are ignored. 1 person replies that the offer is still too vague. That stings. But it gives Casey the missing piece. The customer does not care that Casey knows workflow design. The customer cares about one clear result. So Casey rewrites the offer around time saved and fewer reporting mistakes. One business owner pays him $400 for a small project. The project is not perfect. Casey underestimates how long the cleanup will take. The owner tests the first version and finds one step confusing. Casey revises it. The final process works, the owner can repeat it, and Casey gets paid. $400 does not replace his salary. It does not prove he has a business. It proves something more useful. A real customer had a real problem, Casey solved it, and money changed hands. That external proof matters because an employer's opinion is only one opinion. Now Casey knows his skill can create value in more than one place. That is where a second income path actually begins. Not when you think of a side hustle, not when you buy a course, not when you design a logo. It begins when one person outside your employer pays for a useful result. For an accountant, that might be bookkeeping support. For a marketer, an email audit. For an operations worker like Casey, a cleaner reporting workflow. The exact service will differ. The test stays the same. Can one skill you already use solve one problem for one paying customer? Layer 3, know your number and use the time. Even after making himself more valuable and getting one customer, Casey could still lose the job. So he calculates the cost of keeping basic life running: housing, food, insurance, minimum debt payments, transportation, and other necessary obligations bring his essential monthly burn to $4,350. These are fictional numbers for Casey, not a target for everyone. He has $17,400 in accessible cash. His essential monthly expenses are $4,350. On paper, that gives him 4 months. But that budget still assumes his employer is paying part of his health insurance. If replacing that coverage adds about $700 a month, Casey's real monthly burn rises to roughly $5,050. Now, the same cash lasts about 3.5 months, not 4. One cost Casey forgot to include erased roughly 16 days of runway. Then Casey checks which bills can actually shrink. Streaming can disappear tonight. A phone plan may take one billing cycle. A lease, car payment, insurance bill, or dependent care costs may not move quickly at all. The danger is not only how much Casey spends, it is how slowly that spending can fall. Now the 3 layers connect. Suppose Casey's small service later brings in $800 during 1 month. His monthly gap falls from $5,050 to $4,250. $17,400 divided by $4,250 gives him a little more than 4 months. The extra income does not make him safe. It gives him more time to replace the paycheck. And that is what Runway is for. Not sitting still, not waiting for the perfect job. Casey gives every part of that time a job. In the first few days, he confirms final pay, benefit dates, health coverage options, and any unemployment process that may apply. He saves the personal records he is allowed to keep outside his work account before access disappears. During the first week, he updates his resume and portfolio with the proof he already collected and contacts people who know his work. During weeks 2 through 4, he applies selectively, talks to recruiters, reaches out to target companies, and keeps testing contract work. He tracks conversations, interviews, and paid tests, not just the number of applications sent. If the search lasts longer, he widens the roles he will consider, increases the number of real conversations he is having, reviews bridge income options, and cuts spending again if needed. Runway is not just money for survival. It is time assigned to replacing income. So here is the whole plan in 3 actions. First, choose one recurring I can speed up, then own the quality and decision behind it. Second, turn that same skill into one clear offer and try to get one paying customer. Third, calculate your real runway and write down how you will use the first 30 days if the paycheck stops. Own the outcome, get one customer, know your number, and use the time. The next Monday, Casey walks into the same meeting room. The chair is still empty. His paycheck still arrives. The future is still uncertain. But Casey is not standing in the same place anymore. He owns a more valuable outcome at work. He has proof someone outside the company will pay for his skill. And he knows how much time he has and what he would do with it. You cannot guarantee that AI will not affect your job, but you can become harder to replace, build a path to income outside your employer, and give yourself more time to recover if the paycheck stops. For more calm, practical money systems without the hype, subscribe to Wealth Made Clear. Everything here is for education and entertainment only, not financial advice. Employment, legal, tax, insurance, benefit, and retirement rules vary by employer, plan, state, eligibility, and circumstance.